It's 10 p.m. in Banjul, and this is the news. First, the headlines. The Speaker of the National Assembly holds talks with President Adama Barrow. The Gambia takes delivery of 50 tons of dates donated by Saudi Arabia. ISIL claims responsibility for a twin blast at Tehran's parliament building. And the authorities in Kenya increased the level of terror alert, warning the country is facing a potential attack. These and other stories coming ahead in this hour. I am Hadibaji. The Speaker. National Assembly, Honorable Mariam Jack Denton, accompanied by the majority leader and minority, Wednesday called on President Adama Barrow at his office in Fajara to discuss issues affecting the legislature. Honorable Jack Denton spoke to the press after the meeting.
It was a courtesy call from His Excellency the President by members of the National Assembly Authority, which is provided for under the Constitution of the Republic of the Gambia. At the inauguration of every new parliament, there is established an authority, and the authority is usual and normal that we pay a courtesy call on the President to brief him as regards the work and business of the National Assembly. And that was why we were here, and also to thank him for having nominated me as a National Assembly member and also Speaker of the National Assembly. We discussed the National Assembly business matters that were tabled before at the National Assembly during the last session, like the election of the Speaker, Deputy Speaker, the majority leader, the minority leader, and also the selection of the various committees that go for the National Assembly. It was a courtesy call.
Saudi Arabia has donated 50 tons of dates to the Gambia. The overseer of the vice presidency Tuesday handed over the dates to governors, mayors, and other government officials for onward distribution to communities across the nation. Abdullah Baji witnessed the presentation.
Saudi Arabia has traditionally been a very good donor in providing us with dates at this time of Ramadan.
She used the opportunity to thank the Saudi government for the gesture, emphasizing the dates will be given to the needy.
We thank the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia for thinking about us. We cannot provide for every household. Our wish would have been that every Gambian dates, but given the circumstances, we will give it to the people who need it.
Speaking on behalf of the local government authorities, the mayor of Cardiff municipality expressed gratitude to the government while assuring the dates will be distributed to the right people.
We equally want to, through you, to extend to His Excellency Adama Barrow that we are grateful that he has extended this benevolent gesture to us to share with our people at our various regions, and also to assure him through you that it will go to the right people that needs it most.
The presentation of the dates to communities across the country is timely as Muslims all over the world are observing the holy month of Ramadan, where the values of sharing and caring are widely promoted. Reporting for GRTS News, I am Abdullah Baji.
Kingdom.
The Minister of Trade, Dr. Aissata Toure, on Wednesday presided over the inauguration of the newly constituted Board of Directors of the Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency. SSO reports.
The Gambia Investment and Export Promotion Agency, GAIPA, as a key sector of the Trade Ministry, was established by an Act of Parliament to stimulate economic growth through investment and export promotion. The newly inaugurated board is duly expected to redirect the affairs of the institution under a new political climate. In her inaugural statement, the Minister of Trade and Employment, Dr. Aissatou Touré, said the new board members were appointed through a diligent process.
You are all selected not because you are the best, but you are preferred. There are so many out there, but you are selected because we feel there is confidence in you and that you will be able to perform the expected duties, roles and responsibilities that are given to you, coming from your various ministries. As you are already aware, the GAIPA is constituted of different ministries because it has to do with the economy of the country and also about investment. And as a result, bringing you together is to help move this country forward. We are coming from a very difficult situation, as you may all know.
The newly inaugurated board members expressed a commitment in working towards promoting local and international investment for sustainable socio-economic development. The chairperson board of directors, GAIPA, Yankuba Diba, said youth and women empowerment will be a key priority of the board with a particular focus on promoting inclusive development.
As we assume our responsibility, we are acutely aware of the covenant you and your colleagues in the executive made with Gambians last year, which is to make Gambia a better place, a better Gambia. You have put on the line, individually and collectively, your hard-earned reputation and integrity, which inspired hope in all Gambians. Today, you have tasked this board to support you in managing a component of that consent that Gambians entrusted with you.
GAIPA has a fundamental duty, and one of those duties is to make sure we incentivize the economy. And how do we do that? We do our due diligence by making sure that we get qualified investors to invest in this nation, but at the same time work extremely hard to preserve the businesses that are here so we can create a lot more employment by enhancing their capability.
Private sector investment is undoubtedly critical to economic growth. Officials of GAIPA are eager to look for investors to enhance growth amid a change in government. Now that the board is fully constituted and the enabling environment available, it is expected that it will be business in full swing at the agency. Esa Sow, GRTS News.
This week marks the 50th anniversary of the Six-Day War between Israel and the Arabs. Though the war was fought thousands of miles away from the shores of the Gambia, it did impact on the lives of some of our compatriots. Ibrahim Jallo has been speaking to two Gambians who had first-hand experience of the events of June 1967.
Israel occurred in 1948, following Israel's establishment by the UN. That conflict was followed by a bigger confrontation involving a coalition of Arab states, including Iraq, Jordan, Syria, and Egypt. The war, as with all conflict with Israel, was over land disputes. Mr. Keba Jan was among Gambians who witnessed the war while studying in Egypt. He shared his experience of the conflict.
There was a misunderstanding. Apparently, the Jews want to claim that, it should be State of Israel, and the Arabs, they formed the majority. And then as a result of that, there was a civil war between, the two states, the two groups, the Arabs and the Jews. And then later British decided, to give, that country independent. That was 1948, and then the State of Israel was declared.
Mr. Jan also recalled the fierce battles Israel won by using heavy weapons supplied by the West. He said the conflict was a potential threat to him and fellow students at the Cairo Foreign Students Secondary School, 6 kilometers from Cairo military camp.
We were affected because, this happened on the eve of my junior school final examination. And the examination was cancelled until further notice. And then after the 6-day war, there were a series of, condemnation all over the world. And then, of course, in the United Nations, the Security Council met for Israel to withdraw from all the occupied land. But unfortunately, Israel didn't listen to the international community.
Another eyewitness of the 1967 war, some 50 years ago, is the former Gambian ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Baba Abubakar Drame.
The study took them by surprise. You know, the Air Force, the Steady Air Force came from a direction totally unexpected by Egyptians, that they would come from that particular direction against them. So they destroyed most of their aircrafts aground, and their forces on the ground were left open to the empty air without a cover. So that has caused the Egyptians, it cost them a very heavy price, human price. So they were defeated in that war, in that third war.
The retired diplomat said the war has impacted on Egypt's relation with African countries, including the Gambia, which he said had played a role in ending the fighting.
The Gambia has always been in support of the Arab cause, the Palestinians. You know, even we as students in Egypt in those days, we are all sympathetic with the Arabs. And we were shocked, as my colleague said, when the Arabs were defeated, because the impression we used to have was that with the beginning of that war, Mr. Jallo, that was the beginning of the end of Israel. Unfortunately, that was not the case. We thought that way, because that was the impression we were given. Gambia's position, as I said, has always been in support of the truth, because the Gambia government believes that the Palestinians have a right to have their own homeland in their own country.
Drame is currently working on a biography entailing his vast experience in the Middle East for the benefit of the current and future generation. Ibrahima Diallo, GRTS News.
The US-based International Republican Institute, which promotes human rights, recently sensitized young people on their rights and responsibilities as citizens. Ansu Jack covered the forum.
This organization seeks to empower youths and women in building a Gambia that works for everyone.
The idea is to help Gambians, many of them young people, young women especially, I'm so happy to see them here, to learn about their responsibility in governance of the Gambia. This is a new day in the Gambia.
Participants, including youth associations, share experience and ideas that are expected to ensure the government's continued dedication to protecting human rights.
The U.S., of course, supports civic education and supports the Gambia's efforts to move forward and, again, to achieve its potential.
This seminar was also angled in the role that civil society groups play in working towards a better future for the country. The workshop exposed participants to ideas which can be used to immensely contribute towards national development and engage citizens as well as elected leaders on key issues, more specifically those impacting on youth and women.
We work for the International Republican Institute, which is a non-profit, nonpartisan organization in the United States that works on democracy around the world. And I'm the Africa Director, the regional division that deals with all of Sub-Saharan Africa. And of course, we're here in the Gambia trying to work with our civil society partners to help them prepare for post-election civic education, civic engagement on important reform issues, particularly in looking at the gender issue with women, ways in which we can get women more engaged in the political process.
We know that youths are the citadels of development, and youths are very critical in any developmental processes in any country. If young people have the requisite capacity and the strategies that are required, I believe they can make a big change with regards to this process of reform.
The meeting witnessed discussions on a wide range of topics in building a democratic nation. The young participants hope that policymakers will listen to their voice and implement some of the issues discussed. Ansu Jack, reporting for Jadis News.
The Ministry of Agriculture and the African Union Inter-African Bureau for Animal Resources on Tuesday inaugurated the National Advisory Committee on the Management of Animal Genetic Resources. Modu Bajan reports.
In his statement, the Director General, Department of Livestock Services, Dr. Duto Seni Fofana, stated that the meeting seeks, among many things, to facelift the country's livestock subsector.
Our country is endowed with a large population of endemic ruminant livestock, which is adapted to the local environment. However, critical gaps still exist in the national capacity to sustainably manage, utilize, and conserve these animal genetic resources. Therefore, in collaboration with the genetics project of AU-IBA, efforts are now being undertaken towards the elaboration of the national strategy and action plan for the management of animal genetic resources in the Gambia.
For Agriculture Minister Omar A. Jallo, mechanisms should be in place to handle the increased livestock demands, which is key in the country's socio-economic well-being.
Indeed, very gratifying for me to be associated with recent initiatives being taken in order to enhance sustainable development of our animal genetic resources that provide significant benefits and enhance livelihood. The demand for animal products is in the rise. Some potentials and the eventual possibility of eroding our animal genetic diversity demanded a mechanism for the sustainable utilization and development of our livestock be put in place.
AU-IBAR Technical Assistant Dr. Bosonget detailed the importance of keeping up with animal genetic resources, mentioning gaps that can be mitigated through the National Action Plan.
Significant gaps and weaknesses exist in national capacities to inventorize, monitor, characterize, and sustainably develop and conserve animal genetic resources. The National Strategy and Action Plans for Animal Genetic Resources will contribute to identify interventions options that will most effectively mobilize and use financial resources for capacity building in animal genetic resources management.
Dr. As Seka of International Tribal Tolerance Center ITC underscored gains registered in the livestock market, which he said remains challenged with competent manpower and infrastructure needs. The gathering is expected to come up with a 2-year working guideline which will cater for the enhancement of the Gambia's livestock and food security needs. Modu Bajan, GRTS.